Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, on this smashing Sunday for what is going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily cryptocurrency market update. And if you are new around here and finding yourself on my channel for the first time today, don't forget to check out that subscribe button because we drop an update just like this one every single day around 1 p.m. UK time to help you guys stay up to date with the latest and greatest things happening within the crypto space, but also the broader markets. And that's exactly what we intend to do in this video. We're going to be starting the video off with a quote, a motivational quote. I'm seeing a lot of disgruntlement, certainly in my home country, the United Kingdom, in regards to how things are right now. And we know things are shit, but you are the maker of your own destiny. And we are going to talk about that to start the video off. And then we're going to be getting into some really interesting metrics. We'll be continuing to highlight the fact that Bitcoin is really set for a supply shock. We are seeing, and we have looked at the amount of accumulation the likes of institutions have been doing through ETFs. Whale accounts have been doing during certainly this pullback that we've been in since March, that we're on the cusp of breaking out at exchange traded reserves. And we're also going to look at illiquid and long-term holder supply divergences to really kind of reiterate the fact that we're on the cusp of something big. And yesterday we spoke about how options were approved on Friday for the NASDAQ Bitcoin spot ETF options, and that this is going to cause a kind of vol-on-vol gamma squeeze, in the sense that what could happen here, Bitcoin's a very unique asset for a number of reasons. With the introduction of options, it's a great thing for somebody like me that might want to take out a leveraged position on Bitcoin in a safer manner. Preps, you can get liquidated, you can lose all your money. Options will allow me to bet on Bitcoin's price being higher 4 years from now, and go long Bitcoin with a more leveraged position without having to sort of incur the potential of being liquidated due to its volatility. And there's also an incentivization with Bitcoin's price going up. It kind of precedes more price action. We did look at that in yesterday's video. Do go and watch that. This is a major catalyst. So we are going to be talking about that a little bit. I want to also dive over to Cardano founders Charles Hoskinson, who I'm actually a fan of. A fan of most things, not everything. He recently did a video where he said in a couple of decades, Cardano will flip Bitcoin and the majority of governments in the world will run on our infrastructure. We're going to be replaying that. This was all over Twitter. He got a lot of criticism. I like what Cardano is trying to do. They're trying to be the sort of smart contract Bitcoin in many regards. They've embodied a lot of the ethoses that Bitcoin brought to the table, and of course enabled Cardano to do a broader set of tasks with smart contracts. So we'll be looking at that. And then we're going to talk about Europe's, or the ECB's attack or war that they've just waged on Bitcoin in regards to a recent paper that they delivered, and then we'll dive into a little bit of price action. So, as always, guys, we've got a hell of a lot to get into. Let's start with that quote. And this is a great quote. I think I heard this actually listening to a SoundCloud mixtape. And the quote goes, "You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are." And I think people need to remember that. There's a lot of disgruntlement and unhappiness, certainly in the UK right now with everything going on. You are the maker of your own destiny. Do not become a victim of circumstance, because the only victim you are becoming is one of yourself as a result of that. So do remember that. We are looking to, I've seen lots of videos on Twitter of people in the UK coming out and saying, we can't do this anymore. We're going to leave. This is just too much. We might actually reach out to some of those people. This is a crypto channel, but we also have a platform that we can use for good. We might actually reach out to some of those people and get a panel of men on in the UK from across the UK and air out some of the concerns and things that they're seeing. I think that would be quite an interesting sort of debate and video to host here on Allincrypto. Maybe we do it on Twitter or something like that. Let's talk, and we've been on the theme of and have previously shown the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges, which has been aggressively getting drained during this pullback, showing accumulation. We have confirmation that institutions have indeed been accumulating based on the ETF flows that we've seen. Bitcoin is the greatest performing ETF of all time. We've also looked at whale accounts and the aggressive accumulation, never seen before accumulation that we've seen during this pullback, ultimately for what's coming next. There's something far greater, but crypto is a part of, taking place in regards to debt proliferation and a global reset that's been essentially put in motion since 2008. And Bitcoin and crypto is here essentially to usher in a new financial system. Coincidences turn out often, I think, in this world to be far more than that. We're going to do a lot more content on that also. because it's content you guys are obviously clearly very interested in. It's content that's near and dear to me, but we don't want to sort of turn people off, because not everybody's here for that. Some people just want to know what my thoughts on the markets are, and some of the interesting news that we look at, some of the technical analysis that we give. Not everybody's here to sort of go and to think about things in perhaps a deeper level, but many of you are, and will respect that. And you know, if people don't want to watch that kind of content, then they don't need to. But this is a tweet from Nick. For anybody who's unfamiliar with Nick, I think he's one of the co-founders of the Coin Bureau, which is the largest crypto YouTube channel that there is. Very successful one. Great one to watch, actually. Guy's a good guy. I've never met the guy personally, but certainly from secondhand information, I've heard nothing but good things about him. Bitcoin supply shock incoming. Glassnode data suggests stored or long-term holder supply is rising while levels of activity or short-term holder supply is decreasing. So if we do have a flood of new demand in the next weeks, expect some extreme price movement. And this aligns with everything that we've looked at prior in regards to what we've just shown you. And the beautiful thing is, when we look technically, this aligns with what we're looking at. We've got 3 technical patterns. We've got 4 if you include the short-term technical pattern that we had here that ultimately sees you run to 84K. 4 technical patterns on the short, mid to longer term that all see Bitcoin go to the upside. And also it's in a uptrend, which you don't bet against, an intact uptrend, and is on the cusp. And there's going to be something fundamental, of course, that accompanies this, of really starting to explode, in our opinion. Once you sort of complete this pullback, in much the same way you completed this one, you have that first leg, and then you sort of, you know, you run into a little resistance, you find your feet, and then you continue higher. You know, you are going to see some pretty explosive price movement. This is what's going to see BTC Dom roll, in my opinion, and ultimately alt season flourish. And I think that may be coming this week. We're seeing some very positive things for the altcoin market, certainly when we look at the total cryptocurrency market cap. This is now broken out of its bull flag. Remember, we've got that bull flag that sees the market nearly double, or certainly down here when we were looking at it, double in terms of size. Also, we've got Total 2. And we've got the likes of Total 3, which is well and truly broken out. We've also got others. Everything looks pretty spectacular. And we're ultimately just waiting for the inevitable, in my opinion, to take place. I want to dive into this clip very quickly. This is Charles Hoskinson. This is all over Twitter. Maybe XRP, but Cardano certainly gets a lot of shade thrown on it. Quite often because of Charles. Because he can be quite an outspoken, which is a good feature, I think. In this world, to be different, I think, is a blessing, not a curse. He gets a lot of SHIT thrown his way. And he recently came out saying that Cardano, or in a number of years, decades, Cardano will flip Bitcoin, and the majority of governments in the world will run on infrastructure. He's been sort of clowned quite significantly as a result of this. Pretty lofty goals. Any chance of this actually happening? So clearly no one believes this will. Makes me wonder if he really believes what he's saying. I like Cardano. I'm a big fan of it. There is a chance. From where we're sat currently, though, and this is what people are highlighting, I think, you know, there's a lot that needs to happen. But there was a lot that needed to happen for Bitcoin to get to where it's got to. For me, Cardano is kind of the furtherment of Bitcoin. Let's listen to this clip, and then we're going to move on to the European Central Bank's war on Bitcoin.
In 7 years' time since Cardano launched, we went from nothing to an 11-figure network with millions of people and the largest research group in the world and the passion of the young people. And in another decade's time, we'll be larger than Ethereum. And in another decade's time, we'll be larger than Bitcoin. And in another decade's time, the majority of governments in the world will run on our infrastructure because they trust it. That is what thinking in decades gives you. In 7 years...
Very interesting. You know, he's talking about 4 decades' time, 40 years' time. For people to... we don't know how this space is going to evolve. Cardano's got a lot to prove. It's got layoffs to actually get implemented. If it can do that, it only takes one killer use case on any of these blockchains to see their positioning really switch. Right now, blockchain, the crypto space is very much gatekept by institutions and larger sort of influential individuals that essentially can pick winners and losers. But that was the case with the dawn of the internet. I'm not saying that Cardano is going to overtake Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I'm saying it could. There's a lot of cryptos out there that could. I think Bitcoin is very special in the sense that it's very different from what Cardano is trying to do and others. I think a lot of people writing Charles off, it kind of seems unbelievable saying it now when he does, but we'll see. I think that there's a good chance that certainly Ethereum gets flipped. Whether Bitcoin does or not is another story because it does something rather different. I think certainly in the smart contract ways. I don't think Ethereum's going to win. It's got that winning position now, but I think there's other blockchains that just need that killer use case, and Ethereum is massively overtaken. Let's finish things off now on a quick take. Europe seems to be preparing a war on Bitcoiners. Dun, dun, dun. Higher cap gains on BTC in Italy. Mamma mia, my poor Italians. Honest to God, and that might sound extremely patronising, by the way. I didn't mean it to. But I'm genuinely upset for you guys. I have an Italian business partner. So no milking coffees, I typically don't tell him what I eat because it can cause an argument. He's a friend of mine as well. But it's awful what's happening over there in regards to capital gains. They've gone from 26 to 46% on Bitcoin. They'll extend that, I think, more broadly to assets generally, digital assets, certainly crypto assets. A proposed exit tax in the Netherlands. No mortgage in the UK if you made the money for your real estate in crypto. That's a personal experience. There's no law on that, I don't think. Then he even highlights that. And now ECB is telling no coiners that Bitcoiners are keeping them poor. That last one is truly unbelievable. The early adopters were simply smarter. I think some were very smart. I think some just right place, right time, and were slightly a little bit vigilante. And I actually think that in terms of dumbness, Bitcoin maxis, they're right up there. They're like cavemen, a lot of them. But some of them are extremely smart. Or spent more time on it. I think that's a good one. I'm willing to take more risk. Now they are getting vilified for that. Very dangerous that these are words from the ECB. It sounds more like communist Chinese central bank to me. If you haven't woken up and smelt the coffee, the roses, we do not live in a capitalist society, guys. We live in more of a socialist / communist one, in my opinion, that's sort of disguised. The overturn window is quickly shifting against Bitcoiners and, again, wealthy people in general. We agree. I have heard from a number of people in the Netherlands who hold Bitcoin that they are getting a bit worried about the changing regulations. If Bitcoin should double or triple in 2025, I would not be surprised to see more politicians turning against Bitcoin and trying to tax it excessively. Be prepared. This is where this is originally from. There was a document that was published by the ECB on 12th October this month. This new Bitcoin papers is truly a declaration of war. The ECB claimed that early Bitcoin adopters steal economic value from latecomers. Winners and losers in life, ladies and gents. I strongly believe that authorities will use this ludite argument to enact harsh taxes or bans. Check for why. Rather than praising Bitcoin as a tech paradigm shift, petroleum and the internet, the author introduces the blatantly ludite argument that early adopters increase their real wealth and consumption at the expense of latecomers. Then they go on to brazenly advocate for legislation to prevent Bitcoin's price from rising or to see Bitcoin disappear altogether in order to prevent the division of society. I used to think America was captured, and it is in a lot of senses. Not as badly as the ECB. Congress is actually a pretty amazing thing. And if you think about how America's founded, there's a lot of really real pros there. If you look at certainly Europe, that is a walled garden. So the author also modeled some projections to illustrate the paltry amount of Bitcoin that will remain available for latecomers. Woe is to me, conspicuously left out is the reason that has driven 15 years of Bitcoin adoption and development. It's simply better tech. Better tech. Is Bitcoin better tech than money in its current form? It's slower. It's more volatile. It's not stable. I think, and this is the thing, I don't think Bitcoin is practical as a money. I think it's practical as a store of value. So in all these years, I've been monitoring the Bitcoin space. This is by far the most aggressive paper to come from authorities. The gloves are off. It's clear that these central bank economists now see Bitcoin as an existential threat to be attacked with any means possible. Whilst the biggest bank in the world, or the biggest investment institution in the world, BlackRock, hoards it. Interesting. Many of us have warned that this was coming. Bitcoin as a major political fault line, both in national and international elections. Well, here it is. It means that us hodlers must take action to ensure that governments respect our basic rights to hold property. I like this. And no, this won't be a war between haves and have-nots. Rather, this will be a historic clash between those who stand for the natural rights of the individual and those who clutch at the failed ideologies of collectivism and central planning. Definitely, this guy's a fan of Milton Friedman and many of the others. I can tell that much. Here's the download link to the paper, the distributional consequences of Bitcoin. Very interesting. You're going to see a lot more of this. What's Tim saying here? Very interesting. You're going to see a lot more of this. And there are issues with Bitcoin that, unfortunately, Bitcoin maxis just refuse to have any kind of conversation about. Okay, let's say the world switches to Bitcoin right now. What happens? It's a lot of hardship, I think, comes with it. Nirvana's not for this world. I'm a big fan of Bitcoin. I also think it was introduced to usher us onto a new global system and get us familiar with this kind of idea of a global store of value, a digital one, and global money. But that's it from me, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed this content as much as I enjoyed presenting it. The charts look good. The fundamentals look good. The markets look good. The economy looks good. So on and so forth. If you disagree with anything that we say, please provide evidence of what you disagree with us on in the comment section. And on that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Thanks for watching, guys. See you all in the next.